It's my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Bill Redman from InterDigital. And Bill's going to be talking about actual sandbox testing of HDR over SMPTE ST2110. So kind of what happens when all these standards meet reality and try to get into the real world of actually making video happen. So Bill, please come on up.
Thank you, Wes. Hello, everybody. I work for InterDigital, but I'm here representing the Ultra HD Forum. So let me tell you quickly who we are. The Ultra HD Forum has a mission to bring together people from all over the industry, broadcasters, service providers, consumer electronics and technology vendors, and we want to bring to the world to accelerate Ultra HD development, with the caveat that we have a special meaning for Ultra HD. We mean beyond HD SDR. So more resolution, UHD, 4K, great, but what about HDR? What about wide color gamut, high frame rate? All of these are technologies that significantly improve the quality of the image, quality of the storytelling experience, and we would like to see this technology moved more rapidly into the field. Also, next generation audio, immersive and interactive presentations. The Ultra HD Forum has many members. You recognize them from all kinds of different parts of the industry. That list I read before, the broadcasters, the equipment manufacturers, the technology developers, content creators. This is a sampling of everyone from everywhere with an opinion on the subject. You can see our names, luminaries. The structure of the forum, one of our significant missions is to publish recommendations. I have identified workflows and collections of technologies that are actually succeeding, and we publish those in the guidelines. We also identify technologies that are up and coming, not necessarily ready to go live, but something to pay attention to, gain experience with, and take advantage of as they develop further. My particular activity comes under the Interop Working Group, where we participate in plug fests and help evaluate what technologies are being adopted, what the status of their adoption is. And within that group, we have developed the IP Production Users Group, or with the horrible acronym IPUG. And it's our interest to study and status the various technologies for distributing production quality video, which could be uncompressed or lightly compressed, in the professional workflows. We're interested in understanding, in various of those technologies, how ready we are to employ UHD 4K, or HDR, wide color gamut, or high frame rate, and actually demonstrate those technologies to ourselves, prove that they're working, and then write down what best practices we discover, or what caveats are appropriate. In order to undertake this exploration, we devised a sandbox. This is a completely hypothetical construct. We have, I think you can see no, you don't get to see my cursor. Oh well. Oh, there it is. I can do that. So we have up in this area Oh, rats. Touch is enabled. And now it has, okay, I keep losing my cursor. Sorry. So the test material up in the, up at the top and media players, it's our goal to have multiples of those, at least two, because switching between media sources is a common scenario. And pretty much any system, any technology, you'd want to know that that capability, you know that capability is going to have an effect. You'd like to understand, whether it's working as expected or not. The media player outputs in SDI, at least initially. Ultimately, you could have media sources that are direct to IP in whatever flavor of IP you are using. But as you come into that main block in the middle, that first block where it says C1 sub X, it's converter 1, but the X is the SDI to X. What is X? Is it RITC? Is it NDI? Is it ST2110? It's whatever, X is whatever flavor of professional IP transport you are using for your video. It then passes through a media switch. You get to converter 2 sub X, which is now X to SDI, and then you're back out into traditional space where you're pretty sure you understand what's going on. And then you can feed a display, you can feed test equipment. Maybe your analyzer takes a feed from the original source material and is performing a comparison for PSNR exams or timing, what was the latency across the network for the whole signal. So that's all very helpful. Down at the bottom, a lot of systems require house clocks to be distributed. You have a management network in most cases and some kind of management software, the broadcast controller, or more likely, more currently, lots of individual applications to control different things. So, as I said, this was hypothetical, a creation of a sandbox model, and in time for the NAB that never was, we had assembled a first live instance, which worked but was never presented. And worked is a phrase that comes with lots of caveats, which I'll get into. In this case, you see our two sources were a Panasonic camera, and then down below a Blu-ray player, both being converted into HD ST2110. So 2110 was our flavor of X. That old joke about why are you looking something for something under the street light where you lost it down the block. It's like, well, the light was better here. A lot of people know about ST2110, are interested in it, and that's where in our particular group, that's where the attention was most intense. So the light was better there, so we're studying ST2110 out of the gate. Goes through the switch, relays over to a display, which has its own 2110 to SDI converter. So this was our first approximation, but never publicly presented. One of the activities of the Ultra HD Forum is to provide demos live at shows like NAB, at IBC, and even now our booth is not too far from here, over in Hall 8. So this was actually shown at NAB. This is a considerably more sophisticated build out. It's still not, not ready to go on the air with this, but it had many more activities going on. We added the time base. So we had our PTP clocks being distributed, synchronized black bursts. You notice we had a DVD player in the previous version. Well, we've stepped away from that because DVD players don't really sync meaningfully. And generally, again, the layout. Source up top starts as SDI, converts to 2110. Down at the bottom, we had Blackmagic DaVinci playing out, converting to ST2110, passing through the switch, routed to ultimately the display and its converter for the conversion back to SDI. I mentioned earlier the management software that was used, rather than a professional grade broadcast controller. This is just kind of a sense of the random sort of interfaces that are involved in all these different devices, individual web controllers, and in the professional environment, the broadcast controller would take over and manage all of these interfaces in a much more coordinated way. So what I've got next is pretty much everything I've said so far, said in 2 minutes by the engineer who was demonstrating and had built the demo.
Hello, my name's Alex and I'm a research engineer at LG Electronics and also a member of the IP Productions Users Group here in the Ultra HD Forum. So at the Ultra HD Forum, we're all about driving the adoption of Ultra HD technologies, and it's the work of the IP Production Users Group to look at how SMPTE2110 is compatible with existing HDR systems and technologies. So in this system, we have two sources. We have a camera and a media playback. They're ingested by these newts from Ross Video. They come in over SDI, and then they're converted to 2110 and sent out over fiber. They're then routed in this Cisco switch, and then the output is sent over fiber into this newt from Ross, and then again out from SDI into the back of the display. This is LG's new mastering monitor, so it has quad 12G SDI inputs as well as loop-through. So we're using those to input the video to the display. So one of the issues we identified when implementing this network is that while the newts are great at what they do, they don't pass HDR metadata. And this is very common of SMPTE2110 devices. And part of that is because the standard is still evolving. But it's the work of the IP Production Users Group to identify these issues, to document them, and then make recommendations to manufacturers and people who implement these systems. So currently we're looking at playback from the media server, and this is encoded in PQ. But if I switch over to my camera, which is hybrid log gamma, because there's no metadata, the display doesn't know to switch. So because this is LG's new mastering display, I can remotely select my hybrid log gamma profile and it will trigger over IP. So the signal is accurately represented now, but these are the kinds of issues we're trying to characterize and then document and share with both manufacturers and those who are looking to implement SMPTE2110 in their facilities. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll pull the real video out of that.
Perfect. So just kind of repeating what Alex described there, fundamentally, the system was working. You were having HDR traveling over the ST2110. You were able to switch modes from PQ to HLG and control your system to adapt to that. However, that wasn't an automated metadata-driven switch. Rather, we find that the majority of devices, and some of those devices were from the middle of last year, they're not yet accustomed to sending ST2110-40. Likewise, devices are not accustomed to seeing it show up and reacting to it when it does, or transferring or transcoding metadata across interfaces. You know, as an example, that kind of metadata might encounter an HDMI interface, and that should travel over the HDMI interface to inform a display what to do. But you know, the support for that at the time of the demo was limited. Looking forward, we anticipate being at NAB 2023 with a third, at least a third instance of the Sandbox. You know, we aspire to increase the sophistication of our test vectors, add analytical equipment once the basics are mastered. You know, ideally incorporating some unified management software, which is another element to begin testing. We'd like to migrate to 4K. The images you were seeing in that demo were HD, which was primarily a 3G SDI limitation. You know, moving to faster SDI. The switch would have already been capable of handling the 4K. It's also our intent to explore other IP transports, RIST, et cetera. ST2022-6. It would benefit our group to have individuals, organizations interested in those particular technologies to participate. Right now, most of the questions we're receiving are ST2110 based. But we're open to new members and participants. Also, if you know, any one member or otherwise recognizes we're doing something wrong, or there's some ways we could be doing something better, we would love to hear it. Recently, there's been some tests. JT&M was having a plug fest in Germany, and early reports are that many more devices are producing and receiving the 2110-40 metadata. That is excellent news. This opens the door to transmitting static and dynamic metadata for HDR in ST2110, sorry, ST2108-1, which would otherwise be conveyed in ANC on SDI. And we're looking forward to improved support for HFR and other alternatives for transporting 4K through a facility. I think I mentioned this work earlier, that we do participate in plug fests and the guidelines output. The guidelines presently mention ST2110 in an annex, but it's really a basic explanation, and at the time, its ability to support HDR is really just coming into being. Which we're glad to see, but once it is more stable and more suitable for a professional workflow, we'd like to start documenting best practices. Let's see. So I was going to say questions, but I go first. Curious as to if there are any companies who aspire to or already produce HDR video but in the production environment? Not seeing a big show of hands. Was that a hand?
No.
Oh, okay. And then the follow-on question was, does your company aspire to or already use IP transport in the professional environment? So an ST2110 or RIST professional environment. We have at least some hands. So the question then would be, if you aspired to HDR and you were already working in IP, then you've got an interest in seeing this work succeed. But after that, thank you. And if anyone has questions, glad to oblige.
So do we have any questions for Bill? Anybody? Okay. Bill, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.